Hey, Dr. John here with LifeSpa Ayurveda. Today I want to talk about oxalates. There's a lot of folks talking about oxalates and how they're really bad for you and how they should be avoided at all costs because of the increased risk of kidney stones and mineral malabsorption. Today I want to talk about the ancient wisdom and a lot of the modern science that is actually provoking many researchers to reconsider this so-called ban on oxalates. So let's dig into that in detail. If you're watching this on my YouTube channel, please subscribe to our channel. And if you're watching this on my website at lifespa.com, please sign up for our newsletter and also check out our Ayurvedic store at lifespa.com on your way out. All right, let's dig into this. Okay, so a lot of folks are saying that if you eat a lot of oxalate foods, which are a lot, coffee, tea, grains, nuts, seeds, chocolate, turmeric, rhubarb, spinach, Swiss chard, beet tops, soy, cinnamon, almonds, poppy seeds, so many things have oxalates. It's really hard to avoid. The Mediterranean diet is a high oxalate diet. Another diet called the DASH diet, which is the dietary approach for stopping hypertension, also a very high oxalate diet. And so there's some interesting research about that we kind of need to dig into. But first of all, what is an oxalate? Oxalate are compounds found in plants that attach to minerals or toxins or heavy metals, and they're also protective for the plant. They also bind to minerals and they deliver minerals sort of in a proper amount so the plant doesn't get too much or too little. It's sort of like this plant's sort of buffering system. And you could make the case that that's exactly what oxalates do inside of us as well, right? Studies show that folks that are on the DASH diet or the Mediterranean diet do not have a significant increased risk of getting kidney stones. In fact, the studies show that folks on those diets have a 40% decreased risk of getting kidney stones. So it makes you think, Now, it should also be said that there are folks who are natural stone formers, and they should probably be on a low oxalate diet for a while until you fix the underlying reason why. And in Ayurveda, it's always about digestion. Are you not digesting harder to digest foods well? And if you're not breaking down a lot of those oxalates or other compounds, then that can actually create real problems. So you want to evaluate your digestion. Do I have trouble digesting wheat, dairy, nuts, seeds, grains, lectins, all this talk about lectins are bad and phytic acids are bad and goitrogens are bad and oxalates are bad. These are all really important foods because they, at a small amount, they create a level of irritation in your intestinal tract that creates something called hormesis, which means if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. Well, the reason why you and I have gut immunity, which is 70% of our immune response, is because our ancestors ate these foods, and that created a little bit of an irritation to create a gut immunity, which is directly linked to respiratory immunity, which basically regulates our entire immune response, right? So if you can't eat a lot of these foods and you just say, well, I shouldn't eat them because now oxalates are bad or lectins are bad, you're actually going down the road of not addressing the underlying cause, and that may be becoming over time nutritionally deficient. But maybe even more importantly, you're running the risk of the inability to help your body detoxify all the environmental pollutants, because detoxification uses the same pathways in your body as digestion. So if you can't digest well, you can't detoxify well, and it all boils down to your immune response, which makes you more vulnerable to the next immune event or pandemic that's coming down the pike. And there's probably going to be another virus coming down the pike. And your digestive strength and ability to digest these hard to digest foods are really important. Now, in nature, these foods never came all at once. You didn't eat spinach all year long. You didn't eat turmeric all year long. You didn't eat Swiss chard all year long. They were seasonal foods. So you had some foods that were high in oxalates, and that was balanced by other foods that weren't. You didn't eat the same food every day of the year, because we're really designed to be seasonal eaters. And I have a whole thing called the 3-Season Diet Eating Guide, where we give you grocery lists and superfoods for every month of the year for free. So you can start choosing off the grocery list to eat the foods that are in season that you like, so you keep yourself in rhythm with our circadian clocks. Our biological clocks and circadian rhythms need to be in sync. So also studies show that people who eat that high oxalate foods like spinach and Swiss chard within the study, they naturally have a lot of calcium in it. And that calcium will bind to the oxalates and take most of those oxalates to the toilet, protecting you from higher risk of kidney stones. And studies show that people who eat more spinach and Swiss chard have lower risk of kidney stones, against what you've been told. That's the science. And if you go to my website at lifespa.com, read this article about the oxalates, you can read and all the citations that are there for you. Tea drinkers have drink a lot of tea, which is high in oxalates, and they also, as a population, have low risk of kidney stones. And they think it's maybe due to all the polyphenols in tea, but they definitely have a lower risk of oxalates. Studies show that that high oxalate foods don't cause mineral deficiencies. Populations that have high oxalate diet, like the Mediterranean diet, they generally don't have a mineral deficiency issue. In one study, 2009, showed that the Mediterranean diet, one group ate the Mediterranean diet, one group ate a controlled diet, but both diets had the exact same amount of iron in them. And the group that had the Mediterranean diet, which is the high oxalate foods, the other group had the low oxalate foods, but the same amount of iron, the Mediterranean diet had the higher amounts of ferritin, the storage of iron, and also the actual iron in their blood. So it doesn't really make sense that by eating oxalate foods, you're going to be low on iron. The science doesn't really support that. And one way for those stone formers who are worried about this is cooking your food. In Ayurveda, cooking your food is what we should be doing. Slow cooking is the way to do it. But cooking, for example, actually gets rid of the oxalates. In one study with Swiss chard and spinach, two high oxalate foods, they boiled the spinach and Swiss chard for 12 minutes, and they reduced the oxalates by 85 and 87%. When they cooked beans for 45 minutes, it reduced the oxalate count by 60%. And when you steamed the spinach and steamed the Swiss chard, it reduced the oxalate by 46 and 42%. So there you have it. Lots of ways to mitigate oxalates. I think the first thing is cook your food. Second thing is evaluate your digestion. I have something on my website at lifespa.com called your digestive health quiz, where you take a quiz and you find out what part of your digestion is broken. Many articles there as well to give you more insight about taking this one step further, as opposed to saying don't eat, don't eat, don't eat. Let's get that back. Now in the meantime, if you need to stop eating a food, for sure do that. But let's not just stop there. Let's go upstream and fix the real cause. All right, check that all out at lifespa.com. Thanks for listening. I'm Dr. John Douillard. Do you like this video? Don't forget to subscribe and share.
This recording is brought to you by LifeSpa, where ancient Ayurvedic wisdom meets modern science. Get access to free health video newsletters by Dr. John at lifespa.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.